If you're one of the Formula One fans hoping McLaren's sizable advantage, which they've accumulated across this ground effect era, will suddenly vanish thanks to the change in upcoming technical regulations for 2026 onwards, think again. I'm here to tell you that is not the case, and let me explain to you why that is. Now, while it may be true, much of what has been learned and designed and created in this ground effect era is not going to be a transferable piece of technology or knowledge. That is not the case for every aspect of this ground effect era. And of course, it revolves around the highly documented and theorized front brake duct system that the MCL39 has on their car for this season. It is an advantage which has given them multiple dominant 1-2 victories across the 25 season, and is going to be the major catalyst which will allow McLaren to lead the charge for 2026 and beyond. Now, you may be wondering, why is that? Now, out of every component on the ground effect era cars, a lot of the knowledge and technical wisdom gained throughout these 4 years is not going to really be necessarily transferable. But one particular piece of technology on this season's McLaren MCL39 is, and it has given them arguably their biggest advantage over the rest of the field. And I am, of course, talking about their kind of front brake duct system, as well as the kind of mini dash system that they have on the car. It's a video I made on this subject many months ago, which I'll link in the top right hand corner of this video if you want to get the whole scoop and lowdown on what it is. Now, that is the piece of technology and all of the knowledge that they've accumulated across this season and will continue to do so will be transferable from ground effect era into the new era we will have from 26 onwards. We've seen it in action at numerous races where they've had a drying wet track where they've been able to pump in lap times over a second a lap quicker than the entire field, and that is all thanks to this ingenious device. Now, why is it transferable, and how is this going to give them an everlasting advantage over the field? And the answer to that question is very simple. Brake ducts are part of the listed team components category for 2026. This means that each team must design their own and cannot be bought, sold, or directly transferred from one team to another. This comes off of the 2020 season with the Racing Point and Mercedes controversy. Now, of course, certain aspects of the brake ducts do have to be kind of changed as a result of the new regulations, and that is to do with the narrower tyres at the front and rear, the smaller car width/wheelbase, and of course the new brake size rules. The discs and calipers, for example, are open source, but the overall packaging will change with lighter cars. So while the brake ducts necessarily aren't transferable from one year to the next in terms of 25 to 26, the actual technology, the research and development, that know-how absolutely does. And this is where McLaren's advantage from this season in this ground effect era into 26, the new upcoming era, will be transferable. It's all of the lessons that they've learned throughout the use of this trick system, basically, that they have on the front brake ducts of their MCL39 is transferable. All they have to do essentially is take everything they've learned from this year in terms of how to manage it, how to get the right level of air into the specific compartments within this tricked brake duct system, and redesign, repackage it in terms of the specifications they need it to be within for 2026. And that is why it's an everlasting advantage. And if teams don't play catch up and design and implement their own version of this, it's going to leave them in a very handicapped position, particularly in the races. And this is why I state how important and how clear an advantage this is going to give McLaren for the beginning of 26 and beyond. And of course, there is one further aspect to take into all of this. The construction of the tyres in terms of the compounds is going to be changing as well. So there's going to be this bedding in period of McLaren having to do adjustments as a result of that. Now quickly, let's go over actually what the brake system is on the MCL39 and how it all works and comes into play for them in race situations. Now normally what happens on a front suspension in the lower wishbone is essentially it is two pieces which come and join together right towards the wheel rim as it attaches into the brake carbon wheel rim itself. Now for 2025, McLaren have kept that separate, and that is where the big impact in terms of their advantage comes from, because it allows them to do a couple of things. And this technique or this change in terms of design is something akin to past iterations of kind of front suspension designs that we've seen that have been outlawed. Now, one of those such things is the Mercedes DAS system, as well as their front and rear linked suspension from, I believe, around 2014. Now, with McLaren's use of two separate lower legs, this gives them a virtual steering axis. And essentially, it is all about toe in and toe out. And this affects the drag of the Formula One car, as well as the tyre temperature. And what McLaren, I believe, are doing with this different lower wishbone setup is essentially changing the toe angles on the straight as well as in the corner. And this keeps their front tyres in their working window that they have within the parameters they have to set it in. Now, before we go any further in with this video, if you've enjoyed the tech secrets that I've unraveled within this video, do hit the subscribe button down below and turn on notifications for all future content like this here on F1 Unraveled. Right, let's jump back into the video. And so essentially this is mimicking the DAS system of the Mercedes, where it was the pull or push of the Mercedes driver's steering wheel that activated whether they had toe in or toe out. That is essentially what this system is replicating with the turning of the steering wheel. So of course you want different angles of toe for either being on the straight or in the corners. And just like for the DAS, when in the corners, they are putting the toe angle more outwards. And of course, once back in the straights, the toe angle of the front tires returns to what would be, I suppose, the neutral position that they have the car set up in. So, for example, this gives them multiple advantages over their rivals throughout a race weekend, not only in qualifying, but also more importantly, and I think a bigger advantage would come in the race situations. So there you have it. That is what the whole system is with regards to McLaren, and that is the piece of technology which will be transferable from this season and this generation Formula One cars into the new era for 26 onwards. And that is why it's going to be a sizable advantage for them. Because if all the other teams, and this includes the teams very much just on their heels, the likes of Ferrari on the odd occasion, Red Bull and Mercedes, and probably Aston Martin, thanks to Adrian Newey being there, if they do not jump on the bandwagon of the superior management they have over their tyres in numerous multitudes of conditions, this is going to be the Achilles heel of all the other teams. No matter what they do, no matter if they have a dominant car in qualifying, if they cannot get on top of the key aspect, which is really the tyre management, the tyre preservation, in all of the facets that comes from that, they're going to lose out in the battle, particularly in race conditions, to that of McLaren. Alright, that's where I'm going to wrap this video up. Hope everyone has enjoyed it. If you have, do leave a like on the video. If you're new here and have enjoyed the content here with F1 Unraveled, hit the subscribe button down below and turn on notifications for all future content here on the channel such as this. Alright everyone, enjoy the upcoming Zandvoort Grand Prix and I will see you across the weekend. See you later.